Hi everyone, Evette Rose here. And ladies, I am so excited for the Women in Business Summit, something that we have been so long waiting for. And I am so excited to have an amazing guest speaker here with us today, Sundari. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be with you, my love, and all the beautiful, glorious women that are stepping into this space. What a sacred portal.
Thank you so much. And ladies, for those of you who are new, who don't know Sundari, she's an alchemist of light and also liberation. She's a global heart and field leader for the planet. And she's also guiding to lasting healing and rapid transformation. And she also serves some of the top influencers and also biggest corporations and highest performing leaders, supporting them to quantum leap into ascension and also mastering into the flowness and the effortlessness of their creation and also their vibrational states of consciousness. And then also to help people and supporting them to access their innate gifts and also creating the ultimate life of freedom that they love.
Woo!
Oh, this
Yes,
is why. This is why I am so happy to have you here. You've just set this solid foundation and platform for not just spirituality, but you married spirituality and business.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
my
all
God.
aspects of ourselves. I also marriage relationships and my expression and like all aspects of ourselves, all of our being is just, that's when we're in our highest, liberation with all aspects of ourselves. That is what comes out in business, like, because our mess becomes our message. Who we're here to be is from all of us, from all of our experiences and being. So it's like, I don't really see it as separate. Like, my business is just a platform of my gifts, my expression, my journey, my codes, the things that I've learned. And I'm just like here to continue to grow in my own soul's curriculum and journey along the way and get to share what's the highest joy and the most nourishing for my soul. And is that we can all fucking be in the bliss together.
I love that. Now, Sundari, your career or at least your spiritual play, as I would probably call it, because I know you're a playful person and you've made something that we would all perceive as being hard, or we have to work hard, or it's challenging, or it's all about suffering before we can achieve success. You've actually managed to find a really beautiful, gentle, and graceful way as to how you created your success that you have right now. But you haven't always been in this exact place and time.
No.
What was Sundari's life like before you stepped onto this golden stage that you have created?
The golden stage.
I love it. That's what I see with your stars. It's like you just shine.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, one of the aspects I teach pretty frequently in all that I teach, because I teach multidimensionality, I teach consciousness, I teach all the parts of our human experience that we get to alchemize and have in the highest, greatest life adventure. And so I do teach embodied empire led by spirit, is how I like to call it, because it is to, create an empire, whether that be the empire of your life, the empire of your expression, your business, all these things through your embodiment that is led from spirit, led from your heart. And know that I was not just ding, I'm doing that. There was the beautiful journey of my awakening, my healing, my expression, all those things, like, receiving the capabilities that I had, or discovering and playing into them, as we like to say, right? Like playing into that prosperity, playing into a greater expression or shares and all those things. So, coming from where I was at, I mean, I had the beautiful gift of, when my boys were just my youngest was less than 1 and my oldest was not even 4. I had the beautiful gift of finding out I say former is a higher vibration than most people would say X or something, that he had cheated. And I went into becoming, got divorced, became a $2 an hour waitress. And it was this desire of I had a whole entire life of just struggle, trauma, drama, the deepest limiting beliefs, experiences, etc. And it was like, I'm so fucking done with playing in this reality. And I knew I didn't know what I didn't know. Like, I didn't know any different. All I knew was the level of consciousness, the perceptions, et cetera, that I had. So following my journey, I mean, it was a $2 an hour waitress. And I remember first getting the, the desire, how do I share my gifts? And how to share my knowledge and get away from working a job. And I was doing that, I had like I paid a friend to sleep on my couch at night, and I worked as a waitress at night so that I could still be a full-time mom during the day. So, I mean, in a longer spectrum of this, going from like, I think it was within 6 years, I went from being the waitress to having $1 million clients, to being known as the $1 million coach or the $1 million mentor, to, in the journey of, I started as a nutrition fitness expert that ended up being a nutrition fitness expert on TV, and then mindset, and then emotional connection and healing the body, to then DNA awakening, activating, to being the $1 million mentor, the Fuck Yes Life mentor, to now I'm known as like a spiritual teacher. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can see that we just get to grow through our evolution of consciousness. And of course, when I first started out trying to balance like raising my boys and all those, how do I survive? And like, it was very much the structured masculine way. It was very much the, I've got to get in so much and do this to receive that. And all those things that now I'm like, wow, that was making it slow and hard. It was when I started to, first off, we get to lean into our healing, lean into like the stories, the ideas, the things that are blocking our ease, our grace, right? All the things that are our divine nature. What I want to say is our divine innate blueprint is play. Our divine nature is light. Enlightenment is to be in light. It is to be in our highest bliss. And you might have heard me talk about this before, where I said like the Ka body, our etheric twin body, our rainbow light body, magnetizes things to us, and it's activated through ecstasy and pleasure. So these are opposite of what we've ever been taught and how business has to work. And so what I found was really interesting. All my mentors in the beginning were men, and they all just knew how to teach how to build like men and 9 to 5 and all these other things. And it was very slow and stagnant until I started to get curious about what else was possible, what else was available, and start to align my life to flow state consciousness, which is something that I teach. And it's being guided by energy, being guided by my soul, my heart, what's the most nourishing for my soul. So a lot of these codes that I brought in were always reminding me to get like, what's the most nourishing for my soul? What would feel joyful right now? And that's a level of giving myself, I'm worthy of experiencing joy. I'm worthy of, so it's like to align to clients who I absolutely love, and we're going to laugh our asses off together and cry and play and dance, versus an old idea of like, okay, I have to work with whoever is basically going to pay me. Like, all of that, I think we just got to fucking throw the whole thing out the window, like unwind and dissolve the stories of what we think business is, how we think it has to run. Yes, the more that we create systems and things to support us in like automation or whatever we want to support more flow. That's the only time that came in for me, is like, ooh, how does this get to be? How do I support more people? How does it get to be more in flow? But it was actually through my curiosity and giving myself permission, my worthiness to go, I create what feels amazing. I create, and I mean, because what we create from, we are creating. If we're creating from lack, scarcity, have to, shoulds, structure, it has to be this way, the force, the grind. I know I've got a podcast out there on like, in my podcast about force versus flow, because I would have so many men that had these massive shifts as they lean into, we teach how to be in the divine feminine, how to open up the feminine to receive and to play in the action, the doing. And it's like, because guess what? You create and manifest and receive so much fucking more than when you're coming from the should, have to, strive, force, feeling vibration. You just look at what the energy is aligned to. What the energy is going to create is exactly what you're creating from. So if you buy into the story that it should look this way. So my whole journey has been each time releasing, anything that didn't feel good. And how else do I want it? Like, what do I want to create? How do I want to serve? Like, what does feel fun and exciting, and evolving into that. And that can mean, now this actually doesn't feel good anymore. Now I really fucking want to create this. And so like I said, I'm a spiritual teacher, and I used to be like a fucking $1 million mentor and this and that and nutrition fitness expert. It's like, I would be so stagnated if I held on to that. So that's something that I feel like is so important for women, because we are the feminine. We are our nature is to be in play and flow, and that receiving, which we get to harmonize our masculine, we get to take action, but it comes through, ooh, this feels so good. Oh, how would that look? I want to create that. and being able to play in our masculine and feminine in harmony. And something I get as a reflection a lot. Most people are like, wow, you're so like, sometimes I can be like, and I'm so like, and other times like, oh, sweetheart, and I can just dance and play between both, because I've learned to do that with myself. I can only hold that field and capacity for someone else if I've done it for myself. And so in your own business, in your own expressions, your play, you can only receive what you're willing to give yourself. So we first get to give ourselves like, what does my flow and play of my day by day look like? You know, every day as women, we have different cycles of our moon cycle. We have different, literally our hormones are in different places every single day. We are not meant to be fucking 9-to-5ers, my loves. It just doesn't happen and work, right? So it's like every day is different. Every fucking day is different. And it's like, can I play with, like I can have certain intentions, and there's days I'm like, that is not happening today. Like I'm not in the mode to create. I get to just go fucking play on the beach or do what this feels good. And then my system goes, now I'm ready to serve and create.
Yes.
And that's how so much is produced and created. It's just amplified. And it's that level of vibration I match, that I am worthy of play and pleasure and being supported and to receive. And this is my play. That fucking manifests and magnetizes that to me. Then if I was like, okay, I really feel shitty today, but okay, I got to get this done and have to do this and blah, 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 blah. That's like, it's fucking like killing us. We just get to give ourselves permission to be liberated. And that's the moment by moment dance with all of us, with our being, with our feelings, with our expression, with what we want to create and move into. So yeah.
You're so right. You know, now that I think of that, you know, guys are so much about like the 9-to-5, and that's where my husband and I, sometimes we just don't see eye to eye. I'm like, it's Monday morning and I'm like, it's Netflix time. It's like, no, like, I want to work now. And I'm like, no. But that's the weekend. I'm like, well, listen, you can box your life in this little categories and then hope that, you know, wait for the weekend, for the good times to come. I'm like, no, I'm creating it right now. I feel like having a Sunday. It's Monday, but it's going to be 2 Sundays now. So that's exactly what I'm going to have. It's like,
yeah. Well, and men's hormones are the same every day. And did you know that like, I think it's like 95 to 99% of most research has been done on men, because they could show up every day in the same way. And yet we as women, we have these ideas that it's supposed to look like that. We're supposed to be able to like drive and and have this intense drive. And like men go and their intensity goes up at 9 and they start kind of going. And then at 5, it levels to where then that's why they want to come home and just like turn on the TV and crash and be like, they have the same hormone cycle every single day. Women, it is not that fucking way. We're like in this chunk of days, and we're in this level with our cycle, and it's this and this, and then we're feeling that, and then it goes here, and it's literally a fucking game. And yet that's the feminine, is to play with energy, to play with our ideas, our thoughts, our feelings, our inspiration, and transmit. And our beauty is to alchemize and transmit and direct that energy. That is the masculine as well. So there's power in both. We get to have both. If there wasn't the masculine side of us, or us in alignment with our masculine, we'd be a shit show. As blah, 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 chaos. It'd be chaos. We require to channel that into the inspired action of the masculine, to create and to take action and do in that presence and that focus. And I'm going fucking here. I'm choosing this. And without the feminine, the masculine is just that, like literally no ability to open up, to receive the ideas, the inspiration, all that's available. We get to harmonize with both and operate from both. But it means we get to let go of the old stories of how business has been done and what that looks like for us. And I know I catapulted in, or my business has continued to expand and grow the more that I've embodied, always following my heart, my soul, wherever I'm guided to go, and it's created different layers. And so, because I'm here to just keep expanding and just keep sharing my joys and my gifts. And sometimes that means, like I just took 3 months off and was like, I just get to be in full presence with this right now. And I had to let go of the stories of, oh my gosh, no, I have a business to maintain. I was like, oh, my heart, my fucking soul is calling me to be in presence with this and to let that all just be. And we manifested more than ever. Filled all my retreats, manifested like everything that I was desiring, because I actually got to be with what wanted presence and give clear alchemy to it, give clear vibrational frequency to it. That comes from us stopping and being in our aliveness, our juiciness as woman, right? Our orgasmic bliss, the flow of these, like we're here to just be and play and then direct and it's like, we're so much more than this fucking that's my way of explaining it, noises, and who knows what's going to come out.
But it's true. That's exactly what it feels like. And I'm curious, did you find yourself running into male dominant figures while you were trying, to building the business, while you were like exploring this new territory, when you just transitioned into this new space?
Yeah, well, I mean, almost everything I was always surrounded by was men. It was like even as I evolved, I remember getting asked to speak in New York, and it was high level invite only event, and it was all men were speaking. And that was when I was actually learning to soften into my divine feminine. Coming up from the trauma and the struggles in the life that I had, it was very much like all I knew was hard work. I've got to do it all, got to make it happen. I was very masculine. And I remember I was learning to embody my feminine, be like, how can I follow the energy? How can I soften? And after I spoke, one of the actually male mentor that I had at the time reflected for me. He's like, literally every single one of those men went up like, rah, 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 da, 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 da. And he's like, you should have seen when you walked through the room, he's like, in your softness, and you just like own this divine feminine. He's like, the whole room just slowed down and stopped, and you literally commanded the room, where they were like, I gotta get your attention, motherfuckers, you're gonna rah, rah, rah. And it was like, that was an awakening for me of how powerful the feminine is, how powerful the feminine is. Divine presence. The feminine is fucking like penetrating with her power and her presence of like her allness and that softness. And that was like a big shift for me, and recognizing how. So like another funny story that comes to mind is I remember getting invited to another, again, all these things were like, I remember being in like masterminds and rooms with all these men all the time, and finding myself and catching and seeing the awareness of how they were all showing up, and how I was like, I'm not here to play that fucking game anymore. And one of the things that comes to mind is I remember being invited into this when I was speaking, I think in Austin or Texas, and I got invited into this like mastermind room, and again, there's all these men, and they're all trying to impress this high level dude that I didn't even know who the fuck he was, and they're all like doing their thing, and I just was like, I actually disagree, and I really think if you play with this, and I just like blah, 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 like let go of the construct of like how we have to show up, and all, just again, just being fully me. He ended up coming up to me after and was like, I have to connect with you. And he found out about my story, and he ended up producing a whole documentary series about me. And he was like one of the highest level producers of, that has done all these things. And he's just, so again, if you allow your being, your expression, you follow that guidance of where you're called to go. The other one that comes to mind that was really powerful for me is, again, I got invited to speak at one of these invite only events, all these high level men, and they were all doing, so the guy that ran it, I remember he was like, hey, can we do a little interview call before about what you're going to talk about and blah, 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 so everyone knows. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I've learned to align to, I just show up. And I'm going to follow my heart and allow the guidance to go. And I was like, I honestly have no idea. And he's like, well, I would love you to be able to share on how you've been able to do like $100,000 weekends with your retreats and all these things. And I was like, that's where we go. That's where we go. So we had this little interview. Well, it comes time for the actual event. And I see him the day before, and he's like, do you know what you're going to talk about? Do you have it? Like, do you have what's it called? I'm like, what's it called? A PowerPoint, right? And I was like, no, I actually, I'm still not sure what's going to come out. And he was like, you have to have a PowerPoint. Everybody has a PowerPoint. And one of the guys that I knew was like, you do not want to cross this guy. He like knows everybody. He's interconnected. He's like, you need a PowerPoint. You need to show up and play the way that everybody's playing. And I witnessed, it was like, I was speaking. I was like the last speaker on the last day. And they had these breakouts where two speakers were always speaking at once. And every single session I showed up for, they all had a PowerPoint and they were all doing their thing. And I was just like, huh. And I remember thinking, should I have a PowerPoint? There was those moments of my human being like, do I do this? And I was like, no, like I still, so this is what the funny part was. The only intuition I had was that I wanted to play with Nerf guns. That was the only vision I had about the event. I want to play with Nerf guns. Well, ironically, I had said this to my house manager before I had traveled, and she packed up all the Nerf guns. We had like 30 Nerf guns. My boys and I like to play with Nerf guns. And so I get close to the event and I'm just like, to my assistant, I'm like, you know what? The only vision I still have is me playing with Nerf guns, is like creating some sort of experience where they get to see what beliefs and perceptions come up. And I feel like we get to do that with Nerf guns. So I followed my intuition, and she put out, like we blindfolded everyone at the start. She put out Nerf guns everywhere and all these little play toys. And when I told them, when I turned on some music, or that I told them they had to take off their blindfolds and just react to the environment. And they see these, they all come out and I'm like, pick up a Nerf gun. I'm like start playing. And it becomes this big, crazy fucking shit show. Everyone's grabbing Nerf guns and doing something. And you see some people being like, no, I'm not going to do that and participate. Like, it was so fucking fun and cool and crazy. Anyway, I had the most amazing transmission that came through about experiential training. And the same thing the guy asked me to talk about came out with me teaching how to make all the abundance by and whatever happened. And it was super cool. And the guy that was filming the event actually after told me, he's like, that was the only experience where I had all the great video, everyone laughing and playing and doing this. Every other fucking video is people like PowerPointing, doing this kind of a thing. And what's funny is after that, like the next week or two, I got interviewed by someone and they were like, oh my God, we've got Marci Locke here. And we heard that you had this event that you got, asked to speak at with all these high level people, and you played with Nerf guns. How did you come up with that strategy? And I said, God, like, I was like, literally just the vision came to me and I followed. It wasn't a strategy. Same thing applies with getting $1 million clients. I never had, it was actually a direction my soul was given from working with ayahuasca. She's like, it's time to work with this level of people, to people invest in themselves. None of it was brain focused. None of it was strategy. It was all heart-based. Follow my intuition, my guidance, my energy. Even when it said it's opposite of what you should do, and what everybody believes, is the same thing I do with the languaging I use in, marketing. I don't use normal marketing terms. Like, everything I do is opposite. It's just about what is in alignment for me at this time. Where's my energy calling me to go? Where's what's nourishing for my soul? And can I follow that? And the journey of healing all the shit and finding the gifts in it, and our mastery and our freedom comes from that. If I bought into like, I had to show up this way. Now, the guy did ban me from his retreats for about 2 years. And then he came around and he contacted me. He was like, that actually was the coolest thing about the entire event. He was just triggered that I didn't follow his guidance, etc. And became like, again, we have to be willing to let go of what other people think. I got so much more amazing experience and business and relationships from people even that I idolized, like, meaning I had like seen and honored and like what they created. And they were like, came to me and said, oh my gosh, you're doing this and because I followed that. So that's, I don't know. That's just part of it. It's part of us following our bliss, following our joy, and letting go of the ideas and the stories and the lower density, vibrational, blah, blah bullshit that is stagnating our growth, our expression. And what if it wasn't about how much money we made? Because then it's like, oh, I'm only okay if I have this much in the bank, blah, blah. What if you just, and the thing I teach all my high level personal clients is also like, create it's like your soul's curriculum. You create what you want to express. You create what's nourishing for your soul. If you're doing it because you're going to fucking do it, like you're being called to something, it doesn't actually matter how many people sign up, how much money you make, blah, blah, blah. The alignment and frequency is, I'm doing what feels good for me. I'm doing what I'm called to. This is my level of worthiness to myself. And guess what? The abundance that is infinite supply shows up in all the ways to reflect that. So it's just a continual game and play. Yeah.
I love that. And what I'm also seeing is that, because at the end of the day, I won't call you a masculine alpha female, but you are a leader. You do have an alpha, leadership to you. Like, you know how to just own it. You know how to step into it, but you also know how to balance that. What advice can you give to women out there? Because this is one thing that I really say where a lot of women are clashing. And that is because when two alpha women come together and they try to co-create, or maybe they have to do business together, or the universe just aligns them because they have to create something for a higher purpose, but then the lower vibrations of them just clashes. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, first thing I'd say is, I mean, my masculine side of me comes out very strongly when I'm in training mode, like this. Right. Like, it's like, and so that's just, again, we're always in one or the other in a greater expression or degree based on what we're doing. But it is like, I can dance from, like, in my breakthrough play sessions within my programs, my Align to Manifest Mastermind and different things like that. I can be like, channeling something and directing and see right through the fucking illusion, right to the truth. And then be like, oh, sweetheart, and feel that and be crying with them and soft. And it's like to dance between both. So the first thing I'd say is, like, are we harmonized? Is each person owning if their life is more masculine than feminine, meaning like they have that strive, those were all learned things for me that I got to learn to soften into my feminine, to receive, to give to myself, to have sensuality. Now I'm as an initiate of Isis as well. I mean, I teach sex magic ritual and, all sorts of things. And it's like, that had to expand in my ability to receive pleasure and play and all these aspects that were harmonizing me. So when you're bringing it into, like, first, and the next thing I would love to dissolve completely is that you ever have to do anything. Like, saying no to the opportunities that come your way because they aren't in alignment. I'd rather say, like, if there is it isn't like ooh, sister, oh my God, you have this? That's so fucking cool. I have this part. That's so fucking cool. Together? Oh, what? Are you fucking serious? This is awesome. And it's like, we're going to play together. That's who I would collaborate. I'm not going to fucking settle or tolerate or suffer or sacrifice through any, and again, when we want something from someone, if we're only, that's only the shadow aspect of manipulation that we haven't healed, because manipulation has its light and its dark. I can manipulate the fuck out of energy to serve me and to serve others. I highly own that. And at the same time, someone can manipulate in a shadow frequency, right? Right. So it really is the shadow aspect of ourselves that we haven't owned and healed and loved. If we want to do something with someone because we want something from them. If I want to get this from you, I'll collaborate, I'll settle and tolerate that this doesn't feel really good. We kind of clash. It doesn't really flow. Oh, because I want this from you. Oh, I want to be seen by your followers. You have a bigger following. Or
I love that.
All of that. Yeah. Notice though, see, that's the ideas of, I have to build a business and I need to do whatever the fuck it takes. Well, if the relationship is in alignment, if it is not fucking joyful and easy, I don't work with anyone who's not my fucking, like, we're going to laugh together. We're going to cry together. We're going to fucking play together. We're in it. This is awesome. Like, and that's part of, again, that level of, okay, that's not worth my time. That doesn't feel good. I'm only going to choose to collaborate with what is of the highest bliss and joy and play together. And it's also seeing, I mean, beyond when we dissolve these different constructs of consciousness, there's no such fucking thing as competition or comparison. Comparison is a thief of all joy. I've said that to myself for years when I got to learn how to, like, anytime I compared myself to someone else doing something was just a reflection of what I still had to heal and love within myself, whether that be their unapologetic expression, whether that be them owning their sensuality, whether that be, speaking their fucking truth, and it was like, there's no comparison. Thank you for being such a beautiful being that is reflecting your gifts. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to express more. Thank you for showing me what greater connection to my sensuality looks like. Thank you for being this reflection that I can now practice that trait to become even more of my own unique expression. So comparison is a really fucking old idea in the first place. Anytime we're triggered again by comparison, we get to own it, see what it's triggering for us, what we're not comfortable with, that we get to, what's uncomfortable, we get to get comfortable with, right? What we get to then practice and play with to dive into, like, and see how we do that. There's so much gold there whenever there's anything that's reflecting not pure peace and bliss and love and honor for each other. And especially as women, we get to do this. And so then the next idea is like, there's competition. Someone asked me the other day, who's your competition? I was like, what's fucking competition? Like, that's not even in my realm of consciousness anymore. Like, there's no competition. Everyone is beautiful and amazing. I'm beautiful and amazing. I have my own unique codes. You have your own unique codes. We're all just fucking here to share together. Like, so notice the vibration and the feeling of operating from that place in your business, from that place of, I'm here to just fucking discover all of my expression, my bliss, my pleasure, my play. Oh, everything that comes up. Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you for this thing that feels scary and looks scary. This mess that comes up becomes my core wounds, become my core strengths, right? Like, if you knew my story, I was fucking scared to be seen at all, scared of everything, to now be where I'm at, where I'm like, I literally don't give a fuck what you think about me. Just because I love you and it's okay. Like, I'm just here to be me. I'm not here for your permission or validation or approval. I'm just here to be unapologetically in my own expression. And that's a beautiful journey of healing for ourselves. That's honoring our own play with life and honoring others. So again, like, can we catch what we're tolerating, what ideas it is about business or anything? What if we were all just here to fucking play and like lean into our evolution, our expansion, because we're not here to be stagnant. We're here to continue to evolve and expand. And every single day we can open up our heart more. We can make decisions from our heart. We can see through perceptions, illusions. We continue to expand and play. And I'm just sharing what I've learned. That's it. And you're sharing what you've learned. And we reflect these beautiful codes for each other. So that is conscious, like women being conscious in business, is to see each other as beautiful gifts, to honor each person's journey, everyone in their perfect place. What are you reflecting for me that I can learn from and I can grow in? Oh, it's like, I'm so appreciative of everyone teaching me constantly and how much more that allows me to continue to receive. So it's just like, it's a completely different construct of consciousness and vibration and way of operating and being, that we're then that force, that fight, that try, that structure, that let me systematize this. When people say, I'm gonna like brainstorm, I'm like, how about heart map? Tune into your heart. What feels good for your heart? Like, what would be the most nourishing for you? What would be the most nourishing to, for your creations? What would be the highest, greatest service that you love to do? Like, that's coming from a very different place than the going to the mind.
Because we are so good at feeling. As women, we're really good at feeling. And what I'm hearing you also say is use this beautiful gift of transforming that into a beautiful, positive experience. Instead of focusing on the stress or the trauma or the depression or whatever it is that you're feeling, shift that around, because our emotions is our power. It is our power.
Totally. And it shows you where you're ready for more liberation. It's revealing. I always say, like, whatever is here in resistance is revealing what wants presence, and what is revealing itself to be healed and loved. So pay attention inside now, whether that's sadness or anger or feeling not enough or unworthy or scared to express. And these are the things that, like, someone can say, okay, like, I see myself on stage. I'm rocking on stage. I'm gonna be a speaker. And then someone goes, hey, I would love for you to come speak on stage and do this thing. And then you call that forth that you've been envisioning and seeing with your power. And all of a sudden they go, oh no, now's not a good time for me. And it's because all the stuff inside hasn't worked through that. And so it's like, oh, we get to get curious. Like, what am I afraid of? What am I feeling? What's the worst? All these ideas. Oh, I could totally fumble and be horrible. Well, what else is possible? What if I was really honest on stage and I was like, I feel really nervous. Oh my gosh, this is a whole new step for me. So I brought some note cards. Okay. And it's like, how cool is that to see someone in their truth and their vulnerability, than to try to show up and do a PowerPoint and make it like it has to be this way. And you could use a PowerPoint to support you. It's like, there's infinite possibilities, but see, we have to break down the stories and the things that are bringing up these old ideas. Oh, it has to look perfect. And I'm like, you are perfect. Everything you express, everything you're experiencing is perfect. You're perfectly experiencing whatever you're experiencing that's perfect for you in this divine perfect journey for your perfection. There is no such thing as anything other than perfect. But if I don't play with that, okay, what's here? And these are the things that I teach in breaking down the illusions and the stories and integrating. So we're coming into like alignment, because a lot of the pieces that I believe in having an embodied empire led by spirit is that, you know, obviously we get to bring things into alignment with what we're really wanting to experience and manifest. So are all aspects of your thoughts, the words that you use, the actions that you're taking, are they in alignment? Are you operating from your sovereignty, operating from your wholeness? Like, I don't require something outside of me. Only I can give myself permission. Only I can choose, right? And so it's like operating from that, we integrate that into our life. So integration, we're integrating new beliefs, we're integrating new perceptions. Even when you go, oh, that's right. Okay, comparison no longer exists for me. I realize that's just robbing me of my own joy. It's also not honoring the other person. It's coming from the ordinary ego mind that sees one thing and is looking out of judgment based on my programs. Oh, she does this that way and da-da-da. Instead of, when I soften and I open up to the awareness mind, I just feel the vibration, the essence of this person and their journey. And think of all they've been through. And like, wow, like, and anything that I'm triggered in is of my own to heal. So it's like, it's all such a glorious journey for us to harmonize, or I would say to just heal what these old ways of being are like, that we can integrate, we can dissolve the 3D masculine structure, we can come into flow and ease. Again, we know that disease is created from out of ease with life. So when we become in flow and ease with life happening, whatever shows up, right, we can create a whole new experience. And our business is just a reflection of how we choose to be. It's a reflection of our level of alignment. It's a reflection of our, devotion to our own divinity, to our level of self-worth. It's just reflecting what we believe. So it's another beautiful reflection for us, and how we choose to do it. It's different for every fucking person. I don't believe there's one set way. It's like, you're on your own soul's journey. How does it feel the most amazing for you? Do you love to do summits? Do you love to like coach groups of people? Like, ooh, how else can I play? And just like there's times when I was called to dissolve certain aspects, so all of a sudden I completed them and they just didn't feel good anymore. And so I see entrepreneurs go through this journey where they do what they love and they finally get to this and they're like, oh, it's fucking working. And then all of a sudden and they end up having to fucking destroy it, because the energy is not there anymore. And it, instead of letting it dissolve and destroy, I always say, like, you catch it and you're like, huh, okay, well, now what do I want to create? And you can keep doing this and you just keep growing and expanding. Yeah.
Do you find that when you are in a state of distress or trauma or in a place of wounds, and as you said, your business reflects that. It's almost like it ends up being a mirror of that in one way or another, whether it's to the foundation, the finances, the people that you attract into the business. Now, I'm curious, like, if you start to heal, if you start to shift and you start to change your mindset and everything around it, and you actually do successfully come out of that, does that structure fall apart, or does the business transform with you? Or what would normally happen like that? Because I see people
continue to evolve
years to do that.
I think it continues to evolve. Yeah, it continues to evolve because you're not the same person. So how can you fit yourself into the old box? Like, for instance, we're talking about the feminine and the masculine. Marci Locke, locking down the truth with Marci Locke. That used to be like the tagline when I was a fitness nutrition mindset expert on TV. And again, I see old videos of me like 5-10 years ago, and I'm like, wow, I'm so intense. I'm so masculine. And I know I seem really intense now. I'm like owning my truth and my voice. And my life is softness and it's flow and it's play and it's like sensuality and it's pleasure and it's bliss and all this. And I also can be like, woo, and intense, and I can be all things, right? And I remember when I got called to go the journey of my, to go as a global citizen, to literally like let go of my $1 million clients, my masterminds, my retreats, everything. I was being called to go on this journey of just following. This was my encoding with the divine feminine. Like, could I follow moment by moment where I was called to go, how I was called to serve? And all the things got to be dissolved and destroyed, again, for me to receive the next layer. This is the death to rebirth that we go through. And I remember this feeling of like, oh shit, like I really, like, I'm still supporting philanthropy projects, still supporting my entire team, still supporting my boys. And I was like, I'm still going to show up financially supporting all these things that are important to me and I'm passionate about. And I remember feeling like this, oh my God, I got to just put out an offer. I got to, I need to, and like, I was so successful at it, coming at it from the old vibration when I did. And it was like me trying to like, how do I even, I'm like, I don't even have that language anymore. I don't know how to be that person anymore. I don't know how to speak that language anymore. I was like, that was being asked to die, that I could integrate a whole new level of being. And that's part of the dying the illusion about our attachments to money and our validation. My identity was being asked to die. Everything that I'd created, I looked like the most, I had the $1 million, manifestation mansion in California and, retreats all over the world and blah, 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 $1 million clients, all these things I created at what most people think that's the top, that's that level of success. Universe, my highest self, knew I came for so much more. And it was like, oh, we just scratched the surface, beloved. We just scratched the surface. What you get to allow is the dissolving of all attachments and expectations to your identity, to an ego, to anything that you've ever built. And I literally saw all just get dissolved. That I could come to another layer through my immersions, my experiences. When I got my name Sundari was given to me by an enlightened master in India. And in all these experiences where I literally came to God consciousness, to see people as God, to experience whole new ways of being, there no longer was this desire or this attachment to money. I was like, in my highest dharma, because when I'm in my dharma, my highest, my joy, my passion, and I'm in serving in my highest joy, I know I'll always be supported. And I made more money because there was just this idea of like, yes, how do I get to be in my play and serve and support more people? But all that had to die first. So, there's, again, I couldn't even imagine not being the person that I am if I didn't go through that death and go through that, so to let these, how you shift and change. Your question was like, the structure shifts and changes, the things shift and change because you keep evolving. So at one point I remember feeling like, I had my masterminds that were every single week. And I was like, oh, like I'm feeling called to travel and do these other things. And it didn't feel good to have to be available at the time once a week. It like kept interacting in between travel. And I was like, you know what? Okay, well, what would feel good? You know what? Let's just do them every other week. And literally a 3-month mastermind turned into a 6-month mastermind and everyone thought they got more value. And I really was just like, we're just going to move it around so it feels better for me. And I still now with my experiences, we always say to people, we live in flow. So even with my masterminds, it's like, we live in flow. This is the intention. This is the, time you can plan on. But if something shows up for me where I've got to flow around or be traveling or an immersion, etc., we're going to let everyone know and we're going to shift it. And there's not this idea that would have been there in the past. Like I have to show up, I have to answer my messages, I have to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm going off grid. You all do the same, right? Like we get to honor ourselves. That's the reflection we can be for each other. The exemplification of, I am here for my greatest life adventure. My life is not revolving around my business. My business is just a part of my being. It's a part of my expression. It's all like, there's no separation for me. Again, it's like, I'm in my play. So then when it feels good to create this, I want to record this podcast. Ooh, I want to create this. And this is what feels really good to offer right now. And guess what? Oh my gosh, that actually, I feel complete. That doesn't feel good anymore. Ooh, but this does. Like, can we give ourselves permission to be in the expansion of our souls? And that is what's reflected in what we share and what we give to the world.
I love that. Just like, I wish I could just hug you. Just like,
I'm happy about it. Like, give me a little push pleasure.
You just put everything in such a nutshell. Like you just like, take things that people have been hitting their heads, against the brick wall for such a long time and just go like, well, how about this perspective? And I love that. Like you just kind of like, you break patterns, you break old school ideas, because the way that you do business, the way that you play into your greatness is just, it's easy. And the fact that we feel that it can be easier while we are struggling is because we don't hold that, or at least most people don't hold that same belief system. It's just so outside of their capacity. Like, how do we even begin to open up these type of people? Because they want to step into their power. They want to start the
But that's the thing. We just start to practice and play. Like like you said, it's not like an overnight that I was here. I kept practicing and playing with, wow, this idea of what it should look like and what feels good and what doesn't feel good and what else I want to create. And even coming into higher frequencies of alignment. It's why like I don't buy into, I just don't buy into these games of like, you need this system, this structure, it has to be this way, because I know it's about my alignment. And I'm proof and evidence of that. Like where I had $1 million clients that all we were doing was Facebook at the time. They weren't even on Facebook. Like I have infinite evidence of how many times I receive based on my alignment, not on the structure of the strategy or the things that are, people thought that had to be done. And not that that can't be utilized. But what feels good for you, what supports you, whether it's in systems or teams or support for automation. I have lots of team because I don't want to do fucking anything out of my genius. Like I only want to do what's most nourishing for my soul and where my gifts are. And I am an alchemist. I teach people how to alchemize everything into higher vibration light to then move forward in the patterns, the beliefs, the programs, the experience of life, to integrate it, to be an integrated embodied soul, to live from that place. And so even in, even with like languaging, like people buy into like sales language and language, it's like, or it has to be done this way. I was like, that doesn't feel good. Like this actually is what feels good for me. Like I don't use words like don't or need, or you need this, you should do that, or you have to that, or you're missing that. Like, whoo, like why would I put those into reality? Why would I speak that? First off, that's not me seeing that person as a divine being that is perfect, whole, and complete, exactly where they're at in their experience. For me to project onto them that they need something outside of themselves or they're missing something, etc. I can instead say, this is what I choose to experience in life, and this is what I share. And if you're seeking to experience more of that, I'm here. Like that's a very different vibration. It's like, also, I receive you, beloved. I'm not fucking chasing you and trying to convince you that you're not enough and that you need this. That's all the bullshit that's happening that can work to a degree in surface level and for business. But what are we, that's why also it was so interesting to see how I would get people that would apply for my masterminds that were money coaches, and yet they were broke. Like behind the scenes, they're like applying for my mastermind, but couldn't pay for it or had, and it's like, you're a money coach. Again, it's all this surface, I'm pretending, showing up. And so when we start to evolve our consciousness again about like, what are we here for, is to be the highest vibration. Me and my own healing is what creates the highest healing for the planet. Me being in the vibration, the frequency that I give out. And, when I go super, multidimensional woo-woo as fuck, it's like, I encode everything with magic. I encode everything with, the codes of unconditional love that people who read it and see it, feel it. And my intention, they feel the frequency and transmission. I fucking like give all the angels assignments and go do this. And I do all the mystical stuff. That's my marketing. And yet that's what I manifest and receive. It's not, okay, I'm missing a strategy and it should be this way. And I have to do this and I have to convince people of that. And like, or I have to, I remember doing, I was called to do like a piece for the planet, 7 days of light code activations when I started channeling the Pleiadians. And then they gave me the assignment of doing like an embodied empire led by spirit, where I was teaching it. It was like time for us to really embody being led by spirit and doing this. And we had hired this beautiful man to support in all the stuff. And then he was like, okay, and now you can do these launches. And if you do this every 6 weeks, and then you can do them every 3 months, and then you can have this thing. And I was like, fucking no. Like, it doesn't matter how much money we create. My assistant and my assistant's been with me for like 12 years. She's really like my VP of my life and overseeing all the things. And we were both like, that is not our fucking flow. Like, no, like, it doesn't, and so people buy into what strategies or what structures they think. I'm like, I would so much rather just fucking easily call in $1 million client than think that I have to struggle and strive in any way, or like I'm called. And that's also a journey. Again, when we release, like me releasing, when I went to India, I was called to serve the masses. They were like, it's time to serve the masses. And that was a totally different game. Okay. So I went from $1 million clients and $500,000 clients to, oh, I've got to be serving you and doing free events and blah, blah, blah for 6 months until you like trust me enough to pay $40. it's a different game. But again, you're like leaning into like, actually, like, so what am I doing for that is my calling? So much, I receive so many gifts and capabilities coming out of me, shifting, going, how now do I serve more people? How do I serve the masses? And we created where I've got my products and my programs and my meditations, my activations, my communities and my masterminds available for everyone, versus where I was just working with high-level leaders, because that's where my soul called me to go. Right. And I got to dissolve. It's about money. It's about this. It's like, no, this is actually my soul's curriculum right now. So it's like all of it, when we can just start to go, is this expansion? Is this coming from my heart? Am I making a decision on my heart? Am I following where I feel called to go? What I'm feeling called to learn, who I'm investing in or to learn and grow in my own expansion, right? Who I'm feeling called to serve. Just a fucking beautiful game of letting go of the old ideas and really birthing this newer frequency, this new way of being, which is to operate in the highest consciousness of love and honor for everyone. We're all here to fucking thrive. That's what's available.
Amen. I love
Aho, Ashe, Satnam, motherfucking yes.
Exactly. But oh my God, that's a lot to digest. Like there's a lot to take in from what you said, and to just really be with that. And honestly, for the ladies watching this, I would highly recommend it. I am also going to do it. Watch this interview again. Watch it again, because I feel our lack of self-worth as women, and the generational and the ancestral suppression and the suppression that's been going on even to this day has made such a hardwired biological and cognitive block that even though our soul is calling us into this beautiful place and space to step into, it's like the body is having that to make that transition and to own it, like for these two aspects now to come together, to really allow that to beautifully come together in a graceful way, because you put a lot of emphasis on that, because many women are fighting to be successful. They're fighting to have their businesses. They're fighting for freedom. They're fighting for everything. And it's destroying the feminine. It's destroying their feminine sense of self.
It's always going to keep them in the fight. Now, again, I had all masculine mentors at the beginning of my journey, because that's all there was in business to reflect. And it was all like, it has to be done this way. And they were all fight, fight, fight. You're going to fucking get up at 5 a.m. and do this and this. And then your day looks like this. And then how many things you're going to achieve and goals and blah, 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 blah. And I realized when I realized like, I no longer wanted to be in the fucking fight. Like I didn't want to be the warrior. I actually was the only female ever accepted into this very famous men's warrior program. The only female ever. That's how much of a warrior I was. That's how much of a survivor I was. And my journey through that and learning to like embrace my feminine was like, I no longer want to be the fucking warrior on the battlefield. I want to be the enlightened empress. It's like, thank you for bringing me my grapes and for taking care of this and taking care of that, because I'm worthy to be fucking supported and received by all the infinite supply of the universe. Thank you. Like I released the fight, because whatever we're trying to control is controlling us. Whatever we're fighting is creating the fight. So we have to we're changing our way of being. We're changing our consciousness. We're changing all of it by stopping and slowing down. When you slow down to speed up. I know I've shared a story with you about, when I did a video on stop to make money. And it was like, when I stopped and slowed down, then I could see all that was in the field and the things coming into, okay, that actually makes the most sense. That feels amazing. That would be the thing that I'm missing when I'm like, running around in the masculine. So we actually have to slow down to speed up. We have to stop and we have to feel. We get to like honor our bodies, honor our feelings, honor our moon cycle, honor all of us, like play, and be in that, the play with life, the discovery of life that is letting go of the fight. So, I mean, there's we get to go through we get to integrate these. There's lots of things that I teach and how, it's as easy or hard as we want to make it, how we can make it easy based on the perception. And when based on the actions and the different things that we take, that it doesn't have to be so hard. And this is why I say all the time, ease and grace, ease and grace, ease and grace. I'm constantly encoding into my world. And I mean, I know I did a show a while ago that was called, How Many Times a Day Do You Say This? Because I caught how many times a day I say, oh my God, this is my fucking life. I love my life. Oh my God, this is my amazing life. Magic, miracles, blessings. I encode my life constantly. And I'm constantly saying, I'm so supported, ease and grace. So if we got to work through what's the idea that we're not supported, that it's hard. I definitely had all that it's, going to take all of me and all what it requires. All that had to die and to be dissolved. That I'm like, that's right. I can now see life is always available to support me. There's infinite possibilities. So it does get to be easy. How could this be easy? How can this be fun? And when I teach a 5 steps. It's in my book. And one of the main foundational things that the light beings taught me, that is how to move through anything that's unconsciously operating to consciously align it to what you want to be experiencing. And, it's in this breakdown that the last part of it is, once I've dissolved the illusions, felt all the emotions, moved through it, and it's like, this is what I now believe. Well, now what's the action I'm going to take to integrate that? Even if you're taking a step forward. And I always say, how does this get to be fun and easy? How does this get to be fun and easy? Like, how have you made creating this fun and easy? With the summit, if you were coming from, I know I asked you, how are you doing? You're like, this is actually so much fun. I'm like, amazing. Because you're creating that vibration is going into this creation. If you were like, had a story that, oh my God, there's so many people to interview and this is exhausting and tired, but I have to do this because I need to do summit so I can get my message out, so I can reach more people, blah. Like, that is what you would be giving. And then you'd create resistance in it launching out and people finding it, blah, blah, blah. It's all energy. It's all energy.
It's so true. It's so true. And you were like my magical, coming forward is like, yes, I'll be here with you. I'm joining you. I'm like, it's happening.
Yeah, beloved.
It's such, I can absolutely, testify to that, to be in that flow, to be in that place of connection, and to just feel that I love this. This is exactly where I want to be. I choose to be here, because you love the word choose.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. And then, it's a time for us all to, there's not a suppression of the feminine based on the masculine unless we choose. It's just buying into old stories too, and there's so many beautiful, beloved masculine that are fully supporting the divine feminine. And we also don't require a man to say, okay, you can do this. Like, it's our own inner masculine that gets to be healed and our inner feminine that gets to be healed. It's our own giving permission slip. It's our own validation. It's our self-parenting ourselves. It's being able to say, I'm worthy of being expressed. I'm worthy of being seen. I'm worthy of being heard. Like, I'm worthy of being supported. I'm worthy of life being easy. This is why it has nothing to do with business. You're here for your greatest life adventure. You're here for your lovership with life, your dance and your play and your soul's curriculum and discovery of you, your unapologetic expression, uniqueness, essence that is only you. Your business is just a part of that. It's just one of the beautiful ways that you get to receive by giving. You give energy out and you receive it back. Law of parallel returns, right? So, it's a beautiful journey and dance into our awakening when we choose to be entrepreneurs and we choose to, show up in our gifts and our light and let go of ideas of what it takes. It's fucking, I honor every single person that's here. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Exactly. It's, and the time is now.
Yeah. Because there is no other time but now. That's a silly game, right? Yeah. All right now, my loves. So that's the embodiment of the divine feminine, to be in the now, follow your soul's guidance in the now. Whatever is here for you is here for a reason. And that's like, to stop putting it into the head. But what about, no, this is here for a reason. What is here for me? Like, it just opens up the greatest gifts that we could ever receive, that there's no human words to describe. So
be ready to receive.
Yeah, my loves, so ready to receive. I'm so ready to receive all of you and being in your bliss and your joy and your pleasure and all the light that gives all of the world.
Yeah. Thank you for your love and your enthusiasm. It's so infectious, and just your positive light, because you really truly have done the work. You've done the work, and thank you for showing other people now how to do that as well, because now's the time for that as well. Like, the world is slowly coming together. It's slowly but healing as well. And thank you for being
I would say we're fucking quantum leaping. We're quickly like it doesn't have to be a story of how slow or hard or process. It's like, we are it now. Let's fucking claim it and let's live in new earth frequency now. You can live in your new earth abundance and bliss right now.
Yes.
Done.
So it is. And so it is. Sundari, thank you so much for your love, your time and your energy, really, especially your time and your energy. I know it's incredibly valuable, and thank you for sharing it with us and just infusing us with this research and this wisdom and this love and light, and it will absolutely be carried forward. Thank you so much.
So thank you, beloveds. Thanks for being with
Thank you,
me.
everyone.
Thank you.